Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. Today we're going to talk about the two new big heavy hitters that just dropped in the last week, and that would be Cyberpunk 2077, of course, and WoW, World of Warcraft Shadowlands, the whatever number, 8th expansion or whatever the number is for it. And so I've been playing both. And I thought I would give my first impressions of both of them. Now, let's start with Cyberpunk 2077 because it's the elephant in the room. It is really the it's the one that has been the most anticipated. I've only had half a beer, so I can't blame that. The most anticipated title of the last, I don't know, I guess you could say 5 years for sure. Some people would argue, The Last of Us Part 2. But I'm going to say Cyberpunk 2077 has been the most anticipated title in the last 5 years. So, I have started it. I've played through the whole tutorial thing and all that, and then a few missions after that. And one of the things that I'm noticing in a lot of the reviews and a lot of the first impressions when people talk, they're talking about, there are some bugs. Obvious, there's some bugs, but there's a lot of observations that people are contributing as a bug, where I actually think it's a design issue, and it's not that it's a negative. And I'll give you an example. So I'm finding that in Cyberpunk 2077, the trigger, for lack of a better term, the trigger boxes. So if you have to stand in if your character has to stand in a particular area for whatever reason to trigger something to happen, they're very specific. There's very little gray area, for lack of a better term, gray area or cushion or buffer zone around that. And there's a very early on mission where it actually tells you, the dialogue even says something about stand in the doorway while this vehicle comes, and it's supposed to come and pick somebody up, etc. And it will not trigger if you are not exactly in that doorway. And it took me a while because I'm standing out there and I'm like, why is this thing not working? Why is this not advanced? This scene not advancing? And I just happened to see that on the screen where it said, stand in the doorway. And I backed my character up exactly in the doorway, and then it triggered it. So some are saying that's a bug. I don't think that's a bug. I just think that the game is very specific on the trigger boxes. Now, is that something that they could fix to satiate people? More than likely, yes. They can just make the trigger boxes bigger and whatnot. But to categorize it as a bug, I don't think it's a bug. Now, that's just one example. So, if you're playing through and you're finding that things aren't triggering, just remember, it's in most games, every other game I've ever played, there's a lot of buffer zone. Like if it says, go outside and meet so-and-so, or if you, this is very specific. So just keep that in mind when you're playing it. I haven't had any graphics issues. I am running a GTX 2070 Super. So it's not the new 30 series, but it's also not, a really older card. It's a decent card, and it supports ray tracing. So graphics wise, it's been beautiful. So I haven't had any frame rate issues. I haven't had any of that stuff. And again, this is just first impressions because I have not proceeded too far into the game. It is, I will say this, it is a mechanics heavy game. There's a lot of different systems that you have to manipulate for hacking and for combat and cybernetics and all this stuff. So there's a lot going on interface wise, and that's going to take some getting used to. Now, as opposed to, this is obviously not a straight console port, because if it were, the interface would be more difficult. Assassin's Creed games, for me, are terrible on mouse and keyboard. You almost have to hook up a controller to your PC to play those. This doesn't feel that way at all. So they've done a good job of designing, whether they designed it PC-based first and then they decided separately to design it for consoles or whatnot, but they did not port it. So I don't have any major gripes at this point. I've ran into one bug so far, and that is that when you are you're supposed to be able to set in the key bindings, you're supposed to be able to set a key for toggling your crouch as opposed to just while you're holding it. And so I did that because that's how I normally play first-person shooters. And I usually use my control button, and because that way the pinky can activate it. And it worked for a while. It was toggling, and now it's acting as if I need to hold it at all times. Even though I go in and I confirm in the key bindings that it's saying toggle. So that's a little irritating. So that's the only bug that I could say that I've ran into. Other than that, I can see myself putting in a shit ton of hours into this game. So, yeah, I'm not going to give it any kind of a grade or anything like that. I haven't played enough of it to get in that far. But first impressions, that's what this video is for, and those are my first impressions. Now, World of Warcraft Shadowlands, the most recent expansion, and I have a few gripes with Blizzard that are not necessarily related specifically to this expansion launch, etc. One is them, along with a lot of other game companies and entertainment companies in general. That doesn't just have to be video games. I'm getting really sick and tired of this limited edition, collector's edition bullshit where it allows, like with the PS5, it allows assholes to go out there and monopolize the inventory. I have a serious problem with that. Because the loyal gamer or the loyal consumer gets fucked every time. Unless they have some way of, getting one put aside by somebody that works, at GameStop or somewhere, and whatever the case may be. I'll give you an example. So I have all of the collector's editions for World of Warcraft up until this most recent one. Because as you know, I've self-proclaimed collector edition moron here. For whatever reason, if I like something, I want to have the collector's edition of it. Even though sometimes it's probably more money than it's worth, etc. I like to have that. I don't want to feel deprived of a particular thing. If there's something about that title that I like Fallout 4, I've got 76, I even got the damn, you can't see it, it's not, but I got the stupid helmet here. Because I expected Fallout 76 to be better than it. Obviously, like everybody else did, better than it was. And I pre-ordered the damn collector's edition with the freaking power armor helmet and everything, just because I didn't want to feel deprived. Now, what's happened more recently with Shadowlands, and before that with the WoW Classic collector's edition, when WoW Classic relaunched, with both of those, Blizzard didn't give any heads up as to when they would make the collector's edition available for pre-order or for order of anything. They just kind of drop it, you know. And it allows these sniper assholes to, they're probably, you know, monitoring the markets at all times, you know, Amazon, everything else, and they jump on this shit. I wasn't able to get a WoW Classic, and I wasn't able to get a Shadowlands collector's editions. Now, I'm at the point now where I really don't give a shit. I'm not going to get either one of them because it has created this secondary market where the snipers are able to, they buy them by the, you know, the lots of like 50 of them, you know, 50 Shadowlands collector's editions, and you can see it on eBay, you know, numbers sold, how many they've sold already, and you know, they buy 50 of them, you know, or something like that. And why these developers have not worked with places like Amazon and Best Buy and other places to say, we want to sell our title through you guys, but we want you to impose a whatever, you know, a 2 limit, you know, 2 per person limit per whatever, per subscriber, you know, to yours. And yeah, there's way the snipers could get around it, but it would make it more difficult for them to do it. Because right now, I don't think there's anything stopping these assholes. Look at the PS5 guys, or the guys that did that shit. What was it, 15? They bought 1,500 of them, and they were selling. I mean, just it just screwed everybody else, you know. And then people are left with, oh, do I pay the exorbitant markup fee that these assholes are doing in the secondary market, or do I just go without? You know, and that's what you're left with. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are paying it, and so supply and demand is allowing those prices to stay ridiculous like that. So I do think that people like Sony and Blizzard and etc. could control this better with not allowing the secondary market shit to happen. So anyway, that's my rant about, just to start off with. Now, Shadowlands itself, to me, feels more of the same with World of Warcraft. Now, I have not gotten, because this is first impressions, I haven't gotten to Endgame yet. But it's, you know, it feels the same in the fact that you get to a new hub city in whatever the new geographical areas are, and then you have to learn your professions for that, for the new expansion, and all your other profession shit from before is now useless, and you have to, all the gear that you worked so hard to get in the previous expansion, that you did all the grinding for, is now replaced with these green level, entry level drops that are better than this Uber shit that you just had from, you know, and it just, the basic shit just is out gunning the Uber shit you had, you know, just moments before. So it has that hamster wheel feel to it again. Now, the aesthetics wise and the world, the game world itself, seem very pleasing, very, very good. The quest designs so far, the quests that I've done, seem to be good. So it's going to be, the bottom line is, for me, it seems like it's going to be more of the same in that I'm going to enjoy it while I'm leveling. I'm going to explore the shit out of everything. And then when it comes to endgame, I'm going to get bored and I'm going to stop, because I'm not a raider and I don't particularly get into hardcore PvP stuff. I mean, I'll do world PvP and stuff like that. That's fun. But as far as like arenas and all, and battlegrounds and all, I don't do any of that stuff. I've always been more of the explorer, quester, you know, completionist, to go out and do everything and try and find unique items and mounts and whatever. And I'm going to do a certain amount of that, and then I'm going to get bored with the game, and I'm going to stop. And I'll go back to something else. So that, now whether or not that's a bad thing or a good thing, who knows? I mean, I'll get my $40 worth of entertainment. Let's say that. I know I will get my $40 worth of entertainment out of this expansion, just like I did the other ones. Now, will I want to continue paying the subscription fee? Probably not after a certain amount of time. So, anyway, those are my first impressions. Oh, I will say this about Shadowlands. So what I did was because they did the squish, where the levels and everything were squished, and now the max level is 50. Or no, sorry, take that back, 60. At 50, you start the new content for Shadowlands. Whereas it was up to 100, level 120, and they've squished it down. And they've also, of course, revamped the leveling system to be leveling much faster now. So I wanted to test it out. So I started a dwarf rogue, and if I wanted to, I'd already be in the new content. And we're talking like a couple of days at the most. I could do it in a day if I wanted to. Really, I could go from 0 to 50 in a day if I wanted. If I wanted to hardcore, get up in the morning, bust ass all the way until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'd be level 50 and ready to start the new content. That's how fast you can level. And now that's with heirlooms, full set of heirlooms and all that, which help. They don't help a lot now. They've changed the heirlooms and so forth, but they help a little bit. But it's just the leveling is just it's fantastic if you want to level quick to get to end game. If you don't already, for somebody that was new playing the game, they could get to end game really damn fast, but they would miss so much, But so it's good and bad. It's good for those that want to just get to end game. It's bad for those that want to really savor all of the storytelling in all the different zones and everything. So I did test that out, and I'm level 47, I think. And I've just been screwing around. I mean, I haven't even been trying to get to 50. I mean, I could beat a 50. If I jumped on right now, I could beat a 50 in 2 hours. From 47 to 50. Probably not even that. Maybe an hour if I really did it right. I could probably beat a 50 in an hour. I can go 3 levels in an hour easy. So take that for what it is. I won't give that one a grade either because, again, this is first impressions, but I can pretty much tell where it's going to be unless something drastically changes when I get to endgame. I'm pretty much sure where it's going to end up. So anyway, guys, those are my first impressions of Cyberpunk 2077 and WoW Shadowlands. And with a little bonus rant about secondary market bullshit. So there you go. We will catch you guys on the flip side.